This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. And some people may even go a little bit further and say some other things as well. But at its heart and at its core, it is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. Maybe the finer and easier way to say it, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Since what we do is about the Auburn family, you got to get members of that family here. My name's Kyle, regular co-host here, and other regular co-host, my good friend and yours, Mr. Austin Scott, who is actually on the screen as I finally was able to bring him up. Welcome back, sir, to 101.
Thanks. 101, pretty crazy. We're officially in triple digits from here on out for at least a long time. If we ever get to 4 digits, I don't even want to know what to think. All has happened since then. But 101, we're here, plenty to talk about. I'll be honest, I thought coming in this week it might be a slower week, but never.
Never is it a slow day in the Auburn experience, which is why we started this show in the very first place, which is a great place to start with. I want to thank everybody who joined in, whether you watched live or listened to our 100th episode live from the Plains. We are aware that the video portion of that was not excellent, and that was somewhat out of our control. But this is why we go do things on the road, is to learn. Right. But what we did love was the venue. What we did love was our guests, speaking to Dee Ford and also Dalton Oldham, my former, I can't talk tonight, former Mike Mann. So please, if you haven't, go check out episode 100 for the audio portion, if nothing else, and you will enjoy some great conversations where we celebrate and talk about the fullness of the Auburn experience. But enough about episode 100. That's old news. We're here for episode 101. So let's dive right into it, Austin. We got plenty to talk about today. And we're going to start in the realm of basketball. And this is one of those things that I kind of felt was coming for a while. I think a lot of people were wondering. I know personally, having been somewhat connected with this family, I kind of had some, I want to say inside information, but just certainly kind of knew where we might be heading. The news coming out this week that officially our beloved analyst, I think is the correct title, alongside Andy Burcham, Coach Sonny Smith, former head coach of the Auburn Tigers, Coach Sonny Smith, will be officially retiring as the partner of Andy Burcham for Auburn men's basketball games. This comes as, again, probably not a shock because he has been kind of in and out over the last couple of seasons, right. But it is one of those things that doesn't hurt any less to lose a legend like this in terms of hearing them every single day, hearing him go after the referees, hearing him with all his little funny Sonny-isms. I adore this man for a variety of reasons, which I can talk about, I guess, but I want to get your reactions to Coach Sonny Smith officially retiring from his role on the broadcast team.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I think that this isn't too much of a surprise when Coach wasn't able to travel as much the last few years for road games or tournaments or things like that. An unfortunate but normal thing of life as we age and we get older. And but I was happy to see in his statement that he said he will be alongside the rest of us in Neville Arena, still getting after those referees and making his opinions and voice heard as loud as ever. Sad that we won't get his Sonnyisms, as you called them, on the radio and the one-liners. But something I think a lot of us saw coming eventually, if not this week.
Sure.
But we'll certainly miss him. He has been a bright spot for Auburn basketball the last several years alongside Andy.
I just love how he would not mince any words, go straight after the referees, talk about what they were missing and stuff like that, saying the things that we know he all said as a coach, but now he has a microphone and he can say it to more people and he's not afraid. I think as you get up into your more wisdom, more age, you don't even care what people think.
Nah.
So that's what I love about him. Personally, I've had the opportunity to interview him on the Auburn Roots podcast where he told his Auburn story. I would highly recommend you go check that out if you haven't. And as just a personal note, he meant so much to me just because I enjoyed our conversation. But you know, he was just very complimentary of what we were able to do with that podcast, and just very kind, genuine, and sweet man. But also, you know, he's got a fieriness to him. I'm
Yeah.
so happy that he gets to be just a fan now, and hopefully we'll get to see him still around Neville Arena, and hopefully no less going after the refs. Maybe he can do it even more now because he doesn't have to worry about any ramifications completely. Let's keep talking about some special things of honors of sorts. We'll start off in the basketball realm, but I guess we can cover them all in three things. We have a ton of Hall of Fame news this week. If you had it on your bingo card for the Auburn experience this week that we were going to have Hall of Fame nominations times 3, then you win. There were some other things that I don't think we all saw coming we're going to get into as well. But Hall of Fame nominations for this year are a big thing, at least for this week, for a lot of our Auburn family members and Auburn coaches specifically. So let's start right here at the top. I'll list them off, and we'll get Austin's take on them as well. Our very first one is Coach Johnny Harris. She's been named to the Arkansas Fort Smith Hall of Fame. Obviously, our current head basketball coach for women and doing such a great job. On the men's side of things, we got Coach Ira Bowman, who currently part of the assistant coaching staff for men's basketball, joining the Philadelphia Big Five Hall of Fame for his time and his influence over the community of Philadelphia. And then lastly, in the football realm, Coach Derek Nix joining the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame, where he's spent a lot of his career. If one's good, two's better, three's great, Austin. 3 Hall of Fames nominations for Auburn Tigers in 1 week.
Yeah, these things are always really interesting to me because we might not think as highly of these individuals just because they're newer or they haven't won the accolades at Auburn yet. Certainly, we're happy to have them, but it's always interesting to me that these people, because they are on staff at Auburn or because of their past achievements, they are looked highly at from their hometowns or from their home areas. All 3 of these individuals spent lots of time in these places where they're being recognized. I think that says a lot about the character of who they are and what they've been able to accomplish, certainly in their fields, but also just people. It's rare that you get the best of both, someone who's very good at what they do and a good person. And I think these 3 both outshine in that area, especially. I think it's really cool. Derek Nix especially it's a big deal that he jumped over to Auburn after spending a lot of his career, his playing career at Southern Miss, and then coaching for so long at Ole Miss. Spent a lot of time in the state of Mississippi. So for him to be honored like that, even after, I don't think they should take that into account, but even after jumping over to the state of Alabama and into Auburn, that's pretty cool because Derek Nix is highly, highly, highly sought after and thought of in Southern Miss University world.
And think about this too. I love this aspect of it. We talk about how big, how wide, how vast the Auburn family is you've got Arkansas represented here for Coach Johnny Harris. You've got Mississippi represented for Derek Nix. You've got Philadelphia, yes, but Pennsylvania represented. These guys are going to be in that Hall of Fame in each of those respective states, reasons for people to go see them, learn about them, and then learn about their part of being part of the Auburn story as well, which is just going to be another easy avenue for growing the Auburn family as we continue forward, adding more and more. So very special week for all of them that were part of those Hall of Fame things. This next thing is a little bit of old news. I will admit, Austin wasn't privy to it, but it's kind of why we're here to do this show. We got some scheduling news for you that's way out there in the distant future as we sit here still in the midst of the 2024 football season. But you now have what I will likely assume is the first game for 2027. Officially, Missouri State will be on the schedule September 4th, 2027. They will be coming to Auburn, obviously, to get a check for playing us, $1.2 million. And this will be the first ever meeting of Auburn and Missouri State. I'm just going to go out on a limb here, Austin, and say Bears from the looks of things. I think
that's what it looks like. I was analyzing that helmet pretty closely. That's what it looks like. Now, is this a FCS team? Do they get crossed off of Clint's list or
that's a good question. I don't think.
I think he has D1 on there though.
Yeah, it is D1. I'm pretty sure. So I don't think this will count towards this, but I feel like Clint is thorough enough that he has made a list for all the FCS schools too. I would imagine that's
Probably.
not as well worked through, but hey, look, Clint, we're giving you more homework, but the Missouri State Bears hopefully are going to be the victim of the 2027 Tigers getting off to, I think we can safely assume, right, this is the first game.
I would think so. Yeah, September 4th, unless it's a weird
Don't do
year
it.
and we're starting like late August. September 4th sounds like game one.
I just had flashbacks to hearing the schedule for this season, 2 bye weeks,
Yeah.
and starting in August.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna hope that that's just the start of the season. Certainly, we're excited regardless to get some scheduling news. The first to be added to that schedule, we'll be talking about more as it comes down the line. Some other news that we definitely want to talk about in the basketball realm, and there is a lot of it this week to discuss. But this was for women's basketball. I know so many of y'all are big fans of recruiting, of rankings, of stars. And as much as I tell y'all not to focus on that, we're certainly going to hype it up when there's a lot of national attention about this. This week, women's basketball got started on their season on a fine note as well. But in the middle of all that, they decided, you know what? We're going to go and pick up one of the best in the rankings currently, the player rankings for the 2025 class, and that is Miss Nyla Wilson, a combo guard. I believe she is listed at, I think some people right here in this graphic, I believe from Auburn, has it listed as a point guard. But part of the 2025 class from IMG Academy, that's a very familiar name in the recruiting world that a lot of people come out of that. But she is added to this class, and folks, we talk about milestones for
Yep.
you know where I'm going, right? This is just
Yep.
the next one of those things that Coach Johnny Harris is checking off on her mission to rebrand, not just rebrand, but rebuild and redirect this program during her time that she's been here.
Feels really familiar to me, as when I got the alert that Auburn men's basketball had landed a commitment from Mustafa Heron. A 5-star the first time, and it was a big deal. It was a couple years into Bruce's tenure, but it was a big deal that they had landed someone like that. We saw them pick up a big transfer in Talia Scott from Arkansas this year, a former 5-star. But to get someone from the high school ranks and sell someone on what you believe, that they can come in an immediate impact is big. And so that's really exciting for Auburn women's basketball. I think when you get a dynamic guard like that, as we all saw last night, it can make a big difference in your team. So I'm excited for Miss Nyla Wilson to join Auburn soon. And that team is hot. I got to go to their first game. Took the boys their first taste of hoops in Neville Arena. The women's basketball team, they're on the rise.
Yeah, and certainly this is a good sign as well. I'm still taken aback by that comparison to Mustafa Hera. Obviously, you know, Nyla is going to be her own type of player and not just another copy of Mustafa Heron. But for those of you that need maybe a something to correlate to, comparison, think about it that way. I didn't think about it. Kind of like the comparison, though. That gets me even more excited to have Nyla here as part of the women's basketball program. That's going to do it for Auburn Potpourri. We have covered a variety of topics. Certainly, we got plenty more to talking about. So let's dive into it. First of all, I know we haven't covered a lot of football. We're in a bye week. We get it, folks. Look, you know, it's not going so well this year. So we're going to focus on some other topics tonight. It is the Auburn experience after all. So let's start here tonight. Let's talk about the good stuff. All of it's pretty good. Even the one negative part about this week in regards to men's basketball, it's all been kind of white, just washed away. Bizarre, but washed away by what just transpired last night. So obviously we're going to talk about the 2-0 start for the Tigers, obviously at home, and then a mega matchup in Houston that we just all watched last night as of us recording this, and then that incident that happened. But let's start at the very beginning, Austin. This is our week 1 review. Have we had this exciting of a start to men's basketball, even under Bruce Pearl?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, when you get, you know, I think Bruce Pearl's a very good coach at tempering expectations to the public, letting them know, hey, whether it's we think we're going to go get exposed, or hey, this team is coming in is picked to win their conference. They've made the tournament. They're very Yale-like. All those things, I think Coach Pearl has been very good at tempering expectations, even though he might exceed them. But he's letting you start the bar low.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think you can crush the bar any better than he has in these first two games with a what is it? Did it end up being a 50-point win at home on
It was,
Wednesday?
I believe you're correct. 51 points. I'm doing the quick math here in my head. Wow, that I wrote down the wrong score. I wrote
There you go.
107-20, but it felt like that at times for poor
Yeah.
old Vermont. But I believe it was a 51-point win. They got to the 107 mark as scoring for Auburn at home in that first game.
Yeah, just wild. A wild atmosphere and game. Emily and I got to go, and I feel like I was feeding off of Coach Pearl, telling her, I was like, "Hey, this team's pretty good. This will be a challenge to start the year. We got a lot of cogs. We're trying to figure out how they all fit." And after the game, she's like, "Well, that wasn't much of a challenge at all." I said, "Well, I think everybody was a bit surprised." So really cool to get to see all the new faces in action. Obviously, get to see Neville Arena doing its thing again. The jungle was at capacity. It's just it Auburn basketball was back and in a dominant way. Had a lot of people excited after that first game, and rightfully so.
Yeah, look, we're so back is the phrase that's
So
used, and
back.
how many times can we be back? I don't know, but
A lot.
apparently it's a lot. Hello, one Miles Kelly,
Hello.
uh, introducing himself to the Auburn family. I mean, the man came out and scored 21 points in his debut. All of them, and I mean all of them, were 3-pointers. Absolutely outstanding. In a time where Auburn, maybe at times last year, needed some more solid 3-pointers, you got to know that made so many
Oh
people
yeah.
feel so good. Now, it's at home,
Yes.
grant you, but here's the other dynamic of that too. Vermont is supposed to be a good team. Will that translate throughout the rest of the season? I don't know. All I can go off of is not only what Bruce Pearl tells me, but what the experts are saying as well. So you got people like John Rothstein. You've got experts on ESPN talking about that this is no joke. Analysts are saying that they were said going into this was going to be a dogfight. Look out, Auburn, not on an upset alert, but do not take these catamounts lightly. And we didn't.
Right. And I mean, we've been talking about, now granted, we've been talking about Duke and Houston and the teams in Maui, but Bruce Pearl and Mike Burgermaster have made this non-conference schedule where they want challenges. They want to be challenged. Vermont's a team that's made the tournament 3 years in a row. They're not used to losing more than 5-6 games a year. So I think that was their plan going in, was we want to be challenged by a team, especially that that looks really similar to the one that just ousted us 6 months ago, but also that has a pedigree of winning. I thought their coach said it really, really well and kind of encapsulated the whole night really well. In his post game, he said, "We've been in the tournament 3 straight years. We've won 25 plus games. We are not used to getting he used a different word, but booty kicked by 50 points out here." He said it's embarrassing. So I thought it spoke really highly of Auburn. I thought the coaches had a really great plan, and obviously, Kyle, from being in there, like every time Miles Kelly pulled up, it was like, no, like not
Not again.
And then the volume just kept rising every time. Man, I was probably looking like a little kid every time he hit one.
Listen, I would have loved to have been there for that one because there's the energy's already there. It's the first game. We're back, but we're so back, as we always say. And then you have this new team, new faces. And then when they show up and show out, that just makes things even better because all the hype, all the speculation, I keep hearing Miles Kelly's going to be great, and I try so hard myself to temper those expectations until it's actually realized. It's so nice to see it actually realized, at least in one game. Folks, let's keep it in perspective. It's very early in the season. Keeping things in perspective, boy, how about that second game? My goodness, we are sitting here, folks. I will go back a little bit to our post-game reaction show. You should always join us for those, by the way. They're a good time, even if they're late at night. Some real raw reaction, sometimes raw for things like football. But last night was fun. Someone said that this is Bruce Pearl's best win of his career at Auburn. Do you agree with that statement? I said it feels a little hyperbolic. However, I think you've got to look at context.
Yeah.
The results of it. What are people saying after the fact? And maybe even the story is within the story, which we'll talk about in a little bit. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think context is key. Like you said, you'd be hard pressed to tell me that his Elite Eight win over Kentucky is not his best win to get to a Final Four. But with that said, I think people are, when they say it's his best win, you're looking more at the opponent and who they are. Now, the Elite Eight win against Kentucky, there's so much more around that makes it one of his greatest wins for Auburn, because it's something that never been done. It's something the Auburn team has not gotten to, things like that. So I think those are apples and oranges to me. As far as the opponent, and as far as, like you said, the where the other team is, all that have been ongoing around it, it being such a new team and it's your second game, I find it hard not to believe that they're the best. That was his best win with the team that it was, and the Houston's pedigree over the last few years being such a good defensive team, obviously ranked number one in some metrics, some more analytical metrics.
Sure.
It's up there. If it's not his best win, it is up there, and it was an incredibly impressive game.
Folks, you just watched a March Madness game.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's period, said, done, over with. And that's what I felt like last night. I think it's easy to say that, but I think when you watch the caliber of the two teams that played, Houston's a very good basketball team, and nearly ran away with it on us. And which makes this even more impressive is that Auburn goes down by, I think, 9 is the most they went down by. And you kind of felt like at that moment, if they break into double-digit lead, things are going to get real dicey. But not only does Auburn fight back against that in the second half, they get it tied back up. They give up a little bit more of a deficit and fight back again. And then after that point, they get a lead, and there's a little bit of waffling back and forth, and they hang on to it. It's one thing to fight back on the road several times. It's another thing to get the lead and have the energy, the focus to hang on to that and lock it down. What have we been talking about in football this year? Finishing the game. It was impressive. Janai Broome did what Janai did. Let's be honest. His first game, fine, not amazing. But I think people were reminded why Janai Broome is on all of the preseason lists that he is last night. Auburn fans know it, but the national stage of college basketball, I think, got reintroduced to it last night. That Janai is just a dominant basketball player.
Oh, absolutely. And he came on. I think he took a mantle of I'm going to win us this game, and I'm going to put the team on my back here, and we're not going to back down. I think that helped them get back even with Houston and start, like you said, waffling back and forth. I don't know how you do not. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general. I don't know how anyone does not mention Tahad Pettiford in this game. I know that is overstated and probably but oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, I told Emily in the Vermont game, I said, that one right there is who I want to watch. I said, I want to see everything he does. And she said, well, he finished with 0 points. I said, but he played a great game. And he had it, the look on his game from a freshman standpoint does not look like a freshman. And the scoring came in the Houston game. I think when you look at him, Janai, I think it was Chad, Denver, and Cheney probably, who stayed in. I mean, that is not something a Bruce Pearl team usually does, is leave a 5-man rotation in for the entire, or a 5-man lineup in for the entire last 9 minutes essentially of a game.
Sure.
But they did, and they handled it like pros. And you're looking at guys all there who have played 3 to 4 years of college basketball, except the point guard. Mm-hmm. Really impressive stuff by Pettiford. Makes people really excited. I know that Kyle is thinking what I'm about to say, because Kyle he's reading my mind. He's been telling people since last year to temper expectations when it comes to hyping kids up. Aiden Holloway had an incredible game against Baylor last year.
Why are you saying this name? Why?
Aiden Holloway had an incredible game against Baylor last year. I'm going to be honest, to me, and maybe it's now knowing everything that's transpired since that game, Aiden Holloway with Baylor, this felt different to me, and I don't know if it's because the quality of the opponent. Baylor's still an incredible opponent. We were in South Dakota for some reason. We still don't know why. But for Pettiford to play that game for that extended amount of time against Houston, a very good defensive team, against a very good point guard against him, something felt different to me. Now we'll see. Will he drop off, and will he ebb and flow like Aiden did last year? We'll see. Something felt different to me about Tahad's game last night, and I could not be more excited to watch him again.
Yeah, I'm super excited about what his trajectory could be. I would, again, folks, please, for your sakes and the kids' sake, wave the caution flag. Let them figure out how to be a college basketball player full-time, not just in one game. But certainly things did feel a little bit different. And for those out there that want to go with the narrative of that, Auburn got taken advantage of by losing certain players in the portal to certain rivals, I think we're going to be okay. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there right now. I think we're going to be just fine.
Kyle, my biggest takeaway from that Houston game is this team knows how to fight. I mean, they just know how to fight and scrap and fight tooth and nail against each other or against everybody else.
It's a great transition. We have spent a lot of time talking about the great things about this week, and we should have, but certainly we do need to address. I hate using the phrase elephant in the room because there is no elephant in an Auburn room, because
not in this room,
at least. But the issue at hand, and frankly, the second controversy this week, maybe, if you did not hear, as reports showed that there was a issue, I think phrased in some reports as an altercation on the plane for Auburn heading to Houston before the Houston game. Had to turn back around, deplane, and rebook to go back to Houston much later in that night. Now, what transpired is only between the coaches, Jaheim Hudson and Ja'Kai Howard. That is the two that have been confirmed to have been involved in this. They did not travel. It was a national story, and frankly, a little bit of an embarrassment at times.
Yes, agreed.
However, it'll make things really much simpler if you win a game like you just did. So we've already talked about that. We've already celebrated about that. Austin, just to wrap up our time talking about basketball this week, your take on this, anything you want to share about it?
Well, when it first started coming out, I told my wife, and I just said, "You've just got to be kidding me! Like this is
can't have nothing."
I really hate the Jabba thing and the just Auburn being Auburn. I love that Auburn athletics has tried to transform that into, hey, that's not a bad thing. But it felt like one of those moments. Like if I had to sympathize with that statement, I was like, I mean, we just come off a 50-point butt whooping. We're going to play Houston, and now this. So I think, like you said, it's embarrassing. I don't think I should be getting national news outlet push notifications about Auburn basketball and their playing. So it's embarrassing. I think there's a lot of questions that are justified to be asked. Don't think you'll always get answers to those questions, but I think they're justified to be asked on what was not done, what could have been done to resolve this situation before it becomes a story like this. However, at the root of it, I think you've got two kids who are new to the team, whether they be freshmen or transfer. And I think it'll be very important here over the next few days, few weeks of making sure, one, that coaches stand up and make sure that's what's the word I'm looking for? That standard is set. This is not acceptable. But I think it's also on the veterans. This team has a ton of guys who have been at Auburn for a long time, who know what it's about, who have had success here. Frankly, I have high respect for the talents of both Jaheim Hudson and Ja'Kai Howard. Frankly, they have both done nothing in their careers like these guys at Auburn have. And they've been here to lay that standard, and for them to come in and frankly make a little bit of an embarrassment of this program, even for a short time, is unacceptable. I hope those veterans do not take that lightly, and take that responsibility to hold everybody accountable. I think they will.
Yeah.
I think that Janai Broome, Chris Moore, Dylan Cardwell, even Chad Baker-Mazara, because I think you've seen growth there, and he's been challenged to grow. Will not let this slide. And look, I don't know if you were going to bring it up, but Ja'Kai Howard, we've all seen the video now too during Miles' streak. There's some body language issues. If we're seeing it on social media, I'm sure that the team is aware of it because they've watched more film than we could ever imagine. Right. So I don't think that, I'm not going to say that he's got 3 strikes and that he's down 2 strikes already, but that's 2 strikes in 1 week. I think these guys are going to be the ones who make sure the mantle and the standard is set for these guys to reach, because Auburn showed last night. Now they might need some depth, but this is a good team, and they have high hopes of going somewhere. And things like this do not need to derail it.
And thankfully, it did not derail the game and the outcome of it. And I would highly encourage, where there does maybe need to be growth in some areas, for players. There also needs to be growth in fans and how we jump to conclusions, what we
Agreed.
believe and who we believe, folks. There are people who have taken their mask off for you, and you know what they are doing. Goodman. So please do not be fooled by people who continue to stir things up without facts being out there. There are several others in there, but I have no qualms bringing that up anymore. I'm just going to throw it right out there at the top.
Yep.
That one is one you need to always be cautious of. But please don't jump to conclusions. People started putting other names out there as well. It is being handled. It has already been handled in a sense. There's been a standard set, and I don't think it's going to be a problem going forward. And if it is, they'll fix it.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. But outside of that, great week for Auburn men's basketball.
What a week.
What a week. Wild and crazy. And boy, it's just getting started. All right. If that wasn't
I was about to say.
everybody sit back, gear up, get ready. We are about to, I think, open up ourselves to potential fun here today.
Oh boy.
In the conversation. So I have admittedly, Austin, thought long and hard about what I want to say here, and I'm probably not going to do justice in the moment because you can overthink these things sometimes. But what I want us to enter into now is a time of open discussion about an issue that popped up this week that I think warrants discussion. And I recognize that it is going to be something that whether you find yourself on one side of the issue or not, whether it's just about the question that we're about to ask or about the context with why the question is being even asked this week or the topics being brought up, that there are going to be strong feelings one way or the other. What I'm going to encourage everyone to do here today, whether you are watching, listening, live, or replay, is to be good. Excuse me. I'm all choked up about it.
Don't get all choked up yet.
And be good human beings. Don't overreact. Don't get all up on your high horse. This is what we're here about. We're here to talk about all of the Auburn experience. So let me set the table. What are we talking about? The question before us today: should you roll Toomer's corner for anything other than Auburn sports? Because that is what was proposed on the eve of Election Day when several Auburn students, and I'm willing to bet residents as well, joined in a celebration at Toomer's Corner to roll the trees for the election of one Donald J. Trump. Whether you're happy about that or not is besides the point here. It's part of the discussion, I think, but that's not really what we're the focus of here. The question is, because it was a debate it was a hot topic on X, several other things. There were Plainsman articles written about it, personalities giving their take on it. Again, the appropriateness of some of those takes sometimes you always need to question. But I think it's something that's worth asking. I feel like I could go on and on, Austin, and talk about this from a variety of different angles. I feel like it's only fair that I give you the floor if you would like to first to maybe start talking about it, give your take on it, and I'll kind of run with it from there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that, this is not the first time this has been a debate.
Sure.
It's the first time I think we're going to talk about it, but it's not the first time this has been a debate.
Yeah, I think you're right. I almost thought we did this before in like a small capacity, but nothing this charged or anything like that.
We have forgotten to mention rolling of Toomer's corner in before. I think what did we do last time?
Oh no, don't listen. We're already going to get enough flack this week.
I'm just saying
that we forgot to talk about that the week of.
That's right.
Okay.
So I think that anyway, this has been a discussion point among the Auburn family before, not just with elections, with various things that happen. My stance, I think, on it has evolved over time. I think that Toomer's Corner represents something for Auburn people that is much bigger than just Auburn sports. I think it's very similar to our show here. We talk about the whole of the Auburn experience,
right?
And being more about the culture and family. Toomer's Corner is an icon and a place where people gather to celebrate things. I think with that there are things that probably are not worthy of it being rolled in my opinion. I think that there are things that can still be celebrated, but I don't think that that necessarily has to encompass everything. Big example for me, and I always talk about it because people always ask me with this who know the other side of this room in a sense. When the Braves won the World Series, I'm a massive Atlanta Braves fan. When the Braves won the World Series, Toomer's corner was rolled. When I was in college, the Chicago Cubs broke their streak, won the World Series. There were students from Chicago or from Cubs fandom that rolled the Toomer's corner. I to me, it bothers me. It makes me just feel a little uncomfortable because those aren't directly tied to Auburn. Now, I think that those Auburn students and those Auburn people are celebrating something, so I can see that side of it. To me, it doesn't feel quite worthy enough to roll Toomer's corner. I get that might be splitting hairs. It's a very similar feeling to me when Nick Saban retired. I didn't think that was something that really was needed to be made about Auburn in that sense, but I saw that people rolled it. I can see the flip side of it. I just thought of, hey, how does this make Auburn look? I think that's how I look at a lot of things with even the plane incident, even with different things that happen, whether it be something in the academic side, a guest speaker coming to campus. How does this make Auburn look in the national perception? I want Auburn to be looked at with respect and be looked at and agreed on. So whether it was election and just want to be straight up here, whether it was Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or Kyle Loomis, I don't care who's elected president. To me, it's something where Toomer's corner can represent the Auburn experience, the Auburn creed, and how we treat each other. And regardless of your opinions on it, the differences in opinions surrounding something like a presidential election, I think, is something where would it be better? Now, is it acceptable? Maybe to roll Toomer's corner. Would it be better to not? And I think that's where I kind of land on the election specific side of it because that happened this week. For other sporting events like the Braves or the Cubs or Saban retiring or the Super Bowl, that just seems silly to me in a sense. I don't like that word because I don't want to make fun of people, but it's silly to me to do that. But I get it. Now, I do have a problem with it when it's Auburn specific events and not sports related and we don't. People have a problem rolling it. Does that make sense? Like
it does.
I'm trying to think of something.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? I think this goes with what you're saying here. Do you have a problem with someone rolling Toomer's corner for an engagement?
For like an engagement?
Two Auburn people just got engaged on campus, even if it wasn't at Toomer's corner, but they chose to go celebrate by rolling, whether it's just them, their families, their friends. Let's say they had 20 people with them. Do you have a problem with them rolling Toomer's corner?
No, that doesn't bother me. I mean, it's two Auburn people and they chose to celebrate there. Yeah. Now, is it going to, and it doesn't really matter because it's personal to you, but is it going to look, it's not going to look like an Iron Bowl Toomer's rolling. Obviously you have 20 people.
Hey, listen, let's not put it past some people. They might go.
That's right. But you're probably rolling one tree. You brought what you got and maybe some people will join in with you, but so no, because if Auburn means that much to them, which it means a lot to many of us, then that's the place you can go celebrate. But I do think it's similar. It's kind of a scenario case by case basis, but in general, things that are not directly pertaining to Auburn University and the city of Auburn and its people and their celebrations, I tend to say let's not. But I can understand it if that makes sense.
I like your take on it, and I'm glad you kind of went the way that you did. I think I do not disagree with mainly anything. I think there are a few nuances that I would take a little bit of liberty on. You might even say be a little bit liberal. I don't know. We can just tie all the things into tonight. I'm gonna read something to you here that I think is going to be a couple things actually that I think are going to help form my take on these things. I posted this when all of the discussion and hubbub happened on my personal account. When should Toomer's corner be rolled? I'd be careful taking a hardline stance on the topic. I quote, "Great victories, even graduations, engagements, the whole of the Auburn experience, and remembrance of the people that we have shared those times with." Who is that?
You're asking me?
Yes. Who is that? Who said that?
I read your tweet, and I don't even know. George Petrie or David Housel? Which one?
That would be David Housel, the
There you
one
go.
that we honor every single time that we start the show, because
Toomer's Corner wasn't around before George Petrie, so that's a knucklehead moment for me.
it was. Listen, George Petrie probably came up with the idea, and just passed it down the line. I
Sure.
He's that revered of an Auburn person. So that's from the Auburn historian, the source that we have, thankfully, still here with us to this day. I don't know whether he would agree the angle I'm taking this. I'm going to guess probably not. Just my assumptions, not having a conversation with him personally. But to me, I think right there, great victories, even graduations, engagements, the whole of the Auburn experience, and remembrance of the people that we have shared those times with. That last line is very important there, because Toomer's Corner, Rolling Toomer's Corner, is not about the event in its truest sense. It's about the people. And when you have people, you got differences. And when you've got differences, it makes things uncomfortable. It makes things hard to understand, hard to appreciate sometimes. It's just the reality of life. Everything's not perfect. That's why we live in a fallen world. Austin, I won't preach on you tonight. Y'all think most of y'all know our stance on all of that. I also want to read my good friend Avery's take on this. And I think I'm really reiterating kind of what you said here, but I want to make sure that I'm playing both angles here in my discussion. He wrote to me, I think the answer is straightforward. Toomers can be involved in a positive event that directly impacts Auburn University. If the event doesn't fall under the Auburn University umbrella, don't roll. Auburn won a sports game, roll. Octavia Spencer won an Oscar, cool, but don't roll. And I love that he added that part back in there, because that's being
Auburn related.
It's being consistent too, saying you can relate that to Auburn, but it's not Auburn related. However, I would disagree. Yeah, if Octavia Spencer won an again, and I was there and could capture the moment, too, like I'd be there with everybody else.
Right. So, and there's some people, some maybe theater influences or something that would mean a ton to them as Auburn students, and I think that I would say that is okay. Now, like I said, it doesn't really matter the magnitude of the rolling. I think that's important. Like, if someone wants to do that, it's okay. And if 5 people from their theater class who think Octavia Spencer is just amazing, which she is, if she wins an award and they say, we're going to go celebrate and we're going to go roll Toomers, that's okay. I think because she's an Auburn alum and we're proud of her as Auburn students. I think that'd be totally fine. Now, Kyle, what can I ask your stance on? And I have no judgment here. Can I ask your stance on like these things, like the Braves World Series, or like these other events that maybe you could tie to Auburn in a very loose sense? Like, hey, these Auburn students,
Nick Saban retiring,
Nick Saban retiring, or hey, Tim Hudson played for the Braves one time. They want like what? How do you view those kind of things?
I'm going to be honest with you. If you can tie it to Auburn and it's part of your Auburn experience, I will accept it. I may not like it. I may not be okay with it. But if we don't have to take like 5,000 steps to get to that Auburn, what's it called? Degrees of separation.
Sure. Yeah.
Then I'm there with you. I'm honestly there with you, like in spirit in some way, even if it's something that I'm not really too happy about. Like it's the Patriots. I can't stand the Patriots. Won a Super Bowl and they're, but there was an Auburn player on them, it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, so I get the ick behind this particular event. I do. What I'm going to ask is, for those of you that disagree because of politics on this, what I want you to remember is this. As angry, as vehemently as you may feel about that, there's a group of people that felt the exact same way for several years before you. And this was their celebration of relief. And whether you agree with that or not, frankly, the Auburn experience, as I just said, it can be ick sometimes. It can be bad. From personal experience, I'm going to get a little personal here. There are professors at Auburn to this day that will demean and be borderline, I would question, inappropriate with how they handle, personally having experienced this myself, certain groups that they disagree with and how they speak and treat about them on day one before we even hit the syllabus. And that's been their experience for 4 years for some of them. And when you live in a society where that's encouraged, at least during this time period, it can be a little bit of a relief. Now, is that something that I would have done when I was there? Probably not. Is it something that, as my job now, that I would have gone and captured? Probably so, because I know it would have gotten the hits. Um, I'm not going to. I'll just say it, Austin. I voted for Donald Trump. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not some Donald Trump lover. There are very strong reasons I have for why I voted the way I voted. And if you want to come at me about that, I'd be very careful about that. You don't want to come at me on some of these things for a variety of reasons. Let me just tell you that. I'm happy to have discussions, but not that. Did I somewhat smile at the fact that I saw that? Sure. Did I love it? No. But what I don't love is when people demean others, question others' loyalty to Auburn, and question others' Auburn experience.
Sure. Yeah.
You may not like it. You may not appreciate it. You may think it inappropriate, but who are you to judge?
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's a consistency that needs to be established here too, right? Like, in 4 years, let's not all flip the same thing if somebody else is elected and say, I can't believe they're rolling Toomer's corner for that. Because then we're talking about this as a different kind of people. It's part of their Auburn experience. Whether you agree with them or not, there's a difference in they've been looking for a difference in this and put hope in this political candidate. And for their Auburn experience, it means something different to them. So I think that and I think that with human beings, that's going to ebb and flow, right? Like, people are going to not be consistent with how they feel about certain things, because that's just the nature of having souls and fallen thoughts and minds and things like that.
But here we're getting
real
deep.
But at the same time, an Auburn experience, I think, overarching theme here, an Auburn experience is not square. It fits in square hole. For each person, it can be different. For each person, there might be something that means a little bit more to them than even an Iron Bowl win, or even and so I think that it's key to remember. Now, yes, will Auburn athletics victories, big Auburn athletics victories, always get a rolling? Yes, it'll always be the biggest rolling. There will not be. I cannot think of something that would overcome an Auburn football win rolling, like outside of Auburn athletics.
Right.
And so that's what gets its most notoriety. That's how it started. The ticker tape from Toomer's corner back when they wanted to know there were victories. That's how it started. But I think it's a good thing that it's evolved into something so much more. And I'll be honest, I've seen this a lot, and I think there's a few in our comments kind of talking about, I don't even like the idea of policing this, because then you have the idea of someone else is deciding what is okay for someone's Auburn experience. We're setting parameters around, and I'm not a person who's like, oh, free thinker, do what you feel is best and all that. I'm not that kind of person. But
we're talking about toilet TP on it.
We're talking about toilet paper on trees. And no different than somebody popping confetti.
And people are celebrating together, whether you want to celebrate that or not. Because trust me, there's some of you out there that don't want us to roll when Hugh Freeze wins, because that's how brainwashed you are against him right now. I'm just going to say it. Some of y'all are mad that we got to celebrate 3 times this year on a football team. Anyway, I want to play. We've been talking a while, and I know we're getting on our time, but I do want to play the other side of the argument too, because I pride myself on trying to be able to do that, even if I don't agree with the other side. Where I was talking about it, it goes a certain way. There's a logical progression. Do we sully Toomer's corner the more we do things, and even obviously with an ick this too? Here's a great example: storming the field.
Yeah,
I love the pageantry of college football. I love the emotion of it, and I love storming the fields, but not when we do it for every single thing. Like yesterday, Ole Miss, you don't need to storm the field for number 3, number 4.
Georgia, number 3. Yeah.
Act like you've been there, okay? We stormed the field when we beat number 1 Alabama in an incredible moment that changed college football forever, and is now arguably the greatest play in college football. That's when we stormed the field. Now, there was another time in the Iron Bowl we stormed the field, and I did it just because everybody else did it. Hey,
2 other times.
Yeah.
So even to your point, that's what made me think of it. By the 3rd time, and I'm talking about 13, 17, and 19. 19, I was kind of like, I mean, do we really need to keep doing this? But to your point about Toomer's, I think that's a fair thought. for people who are on the flip side of this and saying, I mean, at what point are we making Toomer's Corner less of a thing? And to that, my statement would be Toomer's Corner, we've almost lost it before. And so to me, it doesn't become diminished. We've almost lost this place. And they almost put up bronze statues, the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Oh,
and
whoa. I'm actually in favor. I was in favor of that.
In place of the real trees? In place of real trees?
Hey, we'll do that another day. We'll do that another day.
And so for the fact that we've almost lost it, let people celebrate. Let people celebrate. Hey, it all gets picked up by 10 a.m. the next morning. I saw it this morning. It's all going to be okay.
It's all going to be okay. I think that's what it really amounts to. There are arguments to be had on both sides of this. Austin and I don't completely agree on this. It sounds like he's a little bit more one way and I'm a little bit more the other. But do you see us at each other's throats calling each other hateful and stuff like that because somebody chose to go out there and celebrate? No.
Only because we're not in person. If we were in this room, it'd be
fisticuffs going down right now. If
like the back of a plane.
Hey, episode. When do you think the next episode live is going to be? Together
the end of the season, right? Probably next week.
Whenever it is, it's going down on the library lawn wherever we do the show.
They'll have to turn the airplane around and land it back among Auburn again and take us off the plane.
No show, no comments. Me. I didn't know because I'm yelling over you because we're fighting here. But anyway, so that I think we had a pretty good discussion there, I think.
Yeah.
And covered a lot of different angles and stuff.
And it's okay.
It is okay. It is okay also for you to not also have to go out there and put your opinion about it. Let me just say that to some people out there as well. If you don't like it, don't say anything about it. If you don't want it to happen again, ignore it. The best way that you can do is just to not give it the attention. Now that I know media is going to do that, all that kind of stuff, but they only do it because they know they can get you riled up. Kind of like we go back to certain writers in college basketball that know they can egg you on.
That's right.
And they're going to get the clicks they need. If you don't like it, don't pay attention to it. All that to be said, this was a great discussion because I think it's important for us to talk about the whole of the Auburn experience, even the ick sometimes that it comes around, one of our most beloved things. But I do need to hand it to you. One of the best points. We almost lost Toomer's Corner. We did actually lose Toomer's Corner. And we didn't know what it would be like in the future. Don't sully it for someone else because their celebration may not be yours, but it's still their set. Let me read it to you one more time. Great victories, even graduations, engagements, the whole of the Auburn experience, and remembrance of the people that we have shared those times with. We'll end it right there. That's episode 101. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of our conversation tonight. If you watch live, those of you on the replay, thanks for stopping in. If you want to keep up with me, X is the place to be. At Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find and yell at you, sir?
Yeah, come yell at me. Great discussion tonight. Austin G. Scott on X on Instagram. There's some pics up of the boys' first time. Got to play peekaboo with B. Ford in Neville Arena. I don't think people can say that.
That's an Auburn experience right there. I'm so happy that she got to come back to the place and we got to talk to her as well. Episode 100. Thanks for tuning in and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.